Looking at black now in Ixalan, we'll start off with the 7-cost Mythic Sorcery Boneyard Parlay. Exile up to 5 target creature cards from graveyards. It's any graveyard and opponent. Separates those cards into 2 piles. Put all cards from the pile of your choice onto the battlefield under your control, and the rest into their owner's graveyard. Obviously not going to see this card all the time being a mythic, but very, very strong. Obviously being able to just take whatever you want. Your opponent either leaves you with a whole bunch of cards or one big bomb. Great if you see it, but obviously not going to see this too often in draft. But interesting card though. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this card is of course interesting. Anytime you force your opponent to make a choice, it becomes a game in itself. They have to decide, on the board state and based on how many cards in your hand, what's the best option to give you. And generally, whether you get 2 creatures, 3 creatures, 4 if you're lucky, it's going to be a good rate. 7 mana, get 4 dudes. I'm not unhappy with that.
Yeah, like, if you've got like a Gishath, like we'll put Gishath in one pile and then the other 4 things, and then it becomes like a 1 mana more better for like, Ever After, but with 2 extra dudes. So I like the spell. But
for the record, I'd probably take the Gishath anyway, but we'll just say, for argument's sake,
of course. The other mythic in black, this one is awesome. The OPW, the Orc Pirate Wizard. It's the Dire Fleet Ravager for 5. Has Menace and Death Touch, so just very nice keywords. When it enters the battlefield, each player, so it is yourself as well, loses a third of his or her life rounded up, and it's a 4/4. Obviously great if you can put this with some vampires so you can gain that life back. How do you feel about the Ravager, even though it is a mythic?
I just like this card because it's an Orc Pirate Wizard. I mean, how often do you get to see all 3 of those words paired together? Menace and Death Touch. This guy's trading for a lot of things as a 4/4. So, I wouldn't like to see him played against me.
No, and you're taking 2 guys out, kind of thing. Like there is a little bit of first strike in the set, but probably not enough that they're getting away completely unscathed. So I like the upside.
Yeah. It's either 2 guys or 4 life.
Yeah.
Pick.
No, I don't want to choose either of them. Revel in Riches is a nice payoff or an alternate payoff for getting all those treasure tokens. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you create one at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. Very thematic, appropriate. Love the art. Revel in Riches for 5 mana. Is this an enchantment? Is it a nice backup win condition that you can pick up maybe when the pack cycles back around to you, if you've been lucky enough to get some good pirates?
Oh no, I'm being greedy. I'm drafting this straight up. I mean, there's a lot of treasure synergies in the set. A lot of things make treasures, so getting to 10 treasures is actually very plausible. And this card itself says whenever another creature dies, or an opponent's creature dies, you get a treasure. So yeah, as the normal game plays on, you're going to have a lot of treasures.
Sure. And I'm excited to see how this lives in either Esper or even just like Black-White, Anointed Procession, make as many tokens.
That'd be hilarious, yes.
Sanctum Seeker is the Vampire Knight, and he is looking very, very badass on his Death Steed. When a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. 4 mana, 3/4, with a nice effect like that. Double black. Surprising this isn't Black-White, but the not too hard to get off in this set. What do you think of the Vampire Knight? Is it one of the better vampires we've seen?
Oh, for sure. I mean, anytime you have this kind of effect where it says a vampire, which is key, not whenever vampires you control. So you're going to get a lot of triggers from this guy, and that could just easily close out a game or put you in a favorable position in a race that you might not have been winning.
Sure. We saw the 4 mana create 3 guys anyway, so if those 3 are swinging in, you're going to gain 3 life plus the 1 from lifelinks. You're already up 6 life. Your opponent's been drained 3, so plenty of upside with those key wording of the card. The Fathom Fleet Captain, the Human Pirate for 2, has Menace. It's just a 2/1. Love this card. When it attacks, if you control another non-token pirate, so a little bit fortunate there, but not too hard to get in black. You may pay 2 if you do create another 2/2 black pirate creature token with Menace. Love that you can add another one of these. Gives you a turn 3 play if you don't have anything to do, and as long as you got that pirate down turn 1, I think Fathom Fleet Captain will be an interesting card in Limited.
I'm sure you meant turn 2 play, but yes, we understand.
No, turn 3. Like, as in, like, on turn 3, if you haven't been able to get something down, you can swing with him, pay 2, and then that way you've still been
you mean by that, right?
But yes,
sure.
Yeah.
So he's turn 2, then turn 3 attack. Yes, this guy is amazing. He's an army in a can himself. I mean, making 2/2 black pirate creature tokens are already great, but these have lifelink.
No, Menace.
Oh, Menace, sorry. Yes, I'm reading the Oracle text, and it says lifelink for some reason.
No problems. Continuing on in the theme of just unfortunate effects that your opponents have to deal with. Raider's Awake is the enchantment for 4. We saw the Blue enchantment for 3 that mills, but this does something a little bit different. Whenever an opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life, and you have the raid of at the beginning of your end step. If you attacked with a creature this turn, target opponent discards a card. So you attack, they discard a card, they lose 2 life, plus they're losing life even if they just have to discard normally. How do you feel about Raider's Wake? Nice little way to put some extra pressure on our opponent.
Yeah, it's definitely great. I mean, them losing a card and losing 2 life is no joke. Each turn, this becomes a big liability. There were many curses in Amonkhet, Hour of Devastation, that were very annoying to deal with. This doesn't even give you an option. You just lose a card and lose 2 life.
Good point. Bishop of the Bloodstained, another very annoying vampire cleric to deal with. It's the 5 mana 3/3, but when it enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 1 life for each vampire you control. We've seen how easy it is to go wide with vampires. I know there's some people not too happy with this card, but I love pretty much the unanswerable drain that this can give you after a big combat swing, or even just in a board stall, just to force damage through. Uncommon, so it shouldn't be too hard to see this. And I think 5 for a 3/3 is pretty fairly statted. What are your thoughts on the card?
This card is great. Back in Theros Block, there was a card called Grey Merchant of Asphodel, Gary, as you may know him. And he was very good. I mean, he made you lose life for each devotion you had. This one's for each vampire you have. There's a lot of vampire token creation strategies in this set, so it'd be interesting to see this as a top-end finisher. Yeah,
definitely some good payoff for going wide if you can't punch through for damage. Costly Plunder, the instant for 2, adds an additional cost to cast this Costly Plunder. Sack an artifact or creature, draw 2 cards, just a common, and at instant speed, obviously blocking with one of those many tokens that you were talking about, you know, especially if you're going to lose it in combat anyway. Prevent lifelink, prevent non-trample damage going through, and you get to refill your hand with a couple of cards. Absolutely love this card as a common. What do you think?
Yeah, especially because you can sacrifice artifacts, and the main artifact in the set is just treasure tokens.
Yeah.
They don't do too much for your early game, so you're quite happy stacking them, especially in black.
Yeah, and especially if you're drawing your lands as well, and you were kind of relying more on your treasures just to fix mana or to get there. If you get that nice splash of colours early, it's a great resource to be able to refill your hand with better cards. Deathless Ancient, the 6 mana 4 generic double black, but it's a 4/4 with flying, and I love cards that have this recursion. Tap 3, untap vampires you control, return it from your graveyard to your hand. I wish it was coming back onto the battlefield tapped, something to that effect, but I think this is a card that will cause a lot of problems in Limited, and we saw how easy it is to get a couple of vampires on the board to support it. Surprised maybe that it's not a little bit in white, but at an uncommon, this should be a pretty decent win con for the vampire decks.
No, for sure. As an uncommon, as a 4/4 body, it's really good. It blocks a lot of creatures. I think a lot of dinosaurs sit about the 4/4 mark.
Yeah.
If you can pump this a little bit, it becomes, it trades for even the higher
the bigger ones.
Bigger ones, yeah, exactly. And, having recursion effects are always nice. So there's no downside to this card. You would pay 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a great card.
Ruthless Knave is the Orc Pirate. Sadly not a wizard, just the OP, not an OPW. He's a 3/2 with some very interesting effects. So it's got 3 mana, sack a creature, create 2 treasure tokens, and then obviously you can sack them for mana. But the most interesting part about this card is sack 3 treasure tokens, draw a card. Interesting wording on this one, maybe similar to something like we saw with the Investigate mechanic. If this was when 3 treasure tokens are sacked, draw a card, that would be infinite value.
Oh, that would be too much. That would be a bit too much. I think you're dreaming, asking a bit too much there, but yeah.
Obviously, yes, floating the mana and then getting that effect would be absolutely insane, but I really do like this as an uncommon. There's definitely going to be some people trying to build around this in Standard, but what do you feel like for Limited? Is this Orc Pirate going to get a run?
Yeah, of course. Again, like I said, there's a lot of ways to make treasures and not a lot of ways to utilize them. In the late game, if you have, let's say 5 treasures and you draw this guy, you can play him and then just, use some treasures to draw a card and get an extra card off the top of your deck. And later on, you can sack creatures that are going to die to combat anyway, prevent trample, prevent lifelink.
Yeah,
it just gives you infinite value.
Yeah, I do like the value, and I know we've done out of 10, but we do like to do a honorable mention on this one. Just
this card's crazy.
Not only does the art look cool, it's a very different effect kind of thing. Obviously, very appropriate. Even the flavor text, when the battle is over, the bitterest foes at last find common ground, because they're all dead, but maybe not dead forever, because Grim Captain's Call allows you to return a pirate a vampire, dinosaur, and merfolk creature all back to your hand from the graveyard. Sorcery for 3 to draw 4 cards if you're managing to run that rainbow treasure value deck. What do we think? You know, it's worth mentioning this card at least.
Yeah, this card just harkens to all those Timmies or whatever in the drafts who want to draft 5-color everything, 5-color good stuff.
Yeah.
So in these kind of formats where you're specifically meant to draft, what's it called? Archetypes, like, you know, tribal. This card says, you know what? Have it all. Just have everything. Don't worry about it. You can have your cake and eat it. This card is hilarious. You're never going to get that much out of it. Like maybe you get like a pirate and a merfolk or a pirate and a vampire. Pirate and dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're playing a 5-color deck at that point.
If you're getting the deck to work, you know, you're doing amazing, buddies. But
like you don't have some of the fixing that we were speaking about earlier. You know, you don't have an Evolving Wilds in the set, or a card like that. So there is a little bit of fixing, and obviously treasure helps, but it will be hard, you know, without the cycling lands and stuff to push even just that 3rd color consistently in a lot of decks. So you're a braver man than either one of us or woman if you're running 5-color Ixalan pre-release treasure nightmare jank. So hats off to you.
Hats off to you indeed.
Probably worth just mentioning the Blood Crazed Paladin as well as a second honorary mention. Without the flash, this card becomes a lot worse, and it is a rare, so you're not going to see a ton of these, but a 2-mana 1/1 isn't really anything special, but you know there's got to be some good text on it if that's how it is statted. Gets +1 or +1/+1 counter for each creature that died this turn. Obviously, there's a couple of ways that you can wipe the board, or even if you're forced to trade 2 or 3 of you guys to take out a menace creature or something to that effect. I do like that you can flash the Blood Crazed Paladin on after combat, and you know maybe end up with a 4/4 or even a 5/5, and which for 2 mana vampire relevant tribal creature type as well. I think you can get potentially a lot of upside with this card. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, this card is interesting. It's definitely hard to say it's a first pick material because there's many conditions that need to be fulfilled. But in the late game, normally you can play this early as well. Like you play this on turn 3 maybe, so you have a 2/2 trades for their 2/2. Now you have a 3/3, and they don't have a blocker. And late game it becomes even better if you can set up scenarios like you said where you're trading a lot, or someone wipes the board with all the creatures, and he just it's arbitrarily big, very hard to deal with.
Like even as an absolute worst result, it's a flash on blocker.
Yes.
You know, even if you're getting absolutely no value other than throwing a 1/1 in front of something just to prevent damage going through, you can at least get. Obviously, that's not the first preference for this card, but it definitely has at least the utility of catching someone off guard, with which flash creatures are known to do. So I thought it was worth just touching on that one. A little bit of fun before with the Grim Captain's Call. This one probably a little bit more playable, but still very situational.
And just like always with black, plenty of removal, plenty of disruption. Contract Killing is a great piece of unconditional removal in the common slot, and the fact that it does give you 2 treasure tokens, love that about the card. Vanquish the Weak was actually a really strong card here, and I'll go through some of these notable mentions. I saw the white spell that was Destroy Something 4 or greater. I actually underestimated how many things that had power 3 or less that were really relevant and really annoying to get rid of. The Fathom Fleet Cutthroat was another nice post-combat trick to be able to play in the form of a body, and Seeker Squire I thought was great as well. Uncommon cards, so you're going to see enough of them. Explore was just an excellent mechanic, and anything like March of the Drown that was able to get you some extra value, especially in those tribal synergies like Pirates, was just insane value. But probably a card like Spreading Rot was something that I just didn't anticipate how strong it was. There was all the enchantments that become lands. If you weren't able to hit them as an enchantment, the fact you could then take them out, it is a little bit expensive, but I'd much rather pay 5 and get a little bit of drain than have a Cradle just absolutely wreck me after it was flipped. So that about wraps it up for black. Even though this pre-release has come and gone, hopefully you had a bit of success, and if you are watching this video afterwards, this should give you some good heads up for the upcoming draft season for Ixalan with MTG Arena on the way. Hopefully you'll get a chance to do some drafts and play some limited in Ixalan. It looks like a very, very fun set, and if the pre-release is anything to go by, I can't wait to see how the constructed environment is. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you are new. Hopefully you didn't get wrecked by too many of these cards, and if you drew any of them, hopefully you managed to build a solid deck around them and you're able to get some W's on the board. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I've been Coops. This is the whole box and dice. Peace.